What's going on, YouTube? This is Country Coder. I want to welcome you back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you to the channel. I hope that you'll enjoy the content that I have for you. Well, in today's video, I'm actually going to tell you some of the lessons that I've learned since I started doing this YouTube thing. Mainly, I'm going to be talking about the Natchez Trace ride because, you know, that's the longest ride that I ever did, and it's also, you know, a lot of lessons that I learned while I was on that ride. One of the main things that I learned off the bat was how to pack for a long trip. You know, I had some moto camping gear with me and everything, but it was more, you know, how do you pack for a multi-day trip? And I'll be honest with you, I didn't get a mile, 2 miles down the road and I was already pulling over because my luggage was about to fall off. Another thing that I learned on that trip, because that was the first time I'd ever done, was use 3 cameras. I definitely am enjoying my 360 camera. I'm not going to use it today, but you know, it was definitely a wide range of opportunity I see with that camera and using that camera, so I'm going to definitely enjoy it. Another thing on that trip that I learned was, hey, I can ride, you know, that long of a distance without having problems. You know, that's the longest trip that I had ever went at one time. I went from, the last day I went from Tishomingo County State Park up to Nashville, which is about 150 miles, and then I rode all the way back to Meridian, Mississippi, which was already another 300-400 miles. So I did about 400-500 miles on that trip, and I mean, that was definitely the longest I'd been on a bike at one time. And so that whole trip was a lot of stuff that I wanted to push myself and see, you know, am I able to do all of this? Do all this motovlogging, do all the camping, you know, go on a multi-day trip. You know, I know that some people I know are talking about wanting to go to Sturgis next year, and I really want to go and ride to Sturgis because I think it'll be a good trip and a good time. So, and I'm hoping to meet some of y'all at some of the trips next year. As far as, you know, I want to go back to the Get On Moto Fest because I really enjoyed that. The next thing I want to talk about is this camera right here with y'all looking at me. I noticed in the last 2 parts of the videos on that trip, and when I was going back reviewing the video, that I really wasn't looking at y'all very much, and it kind of bothered me. I was like, well, that's not very good for me to, you know, showing my face and I'm sitting here just looking like this and not ever talking to y'all. And so I did it right then, but I was just giving y'all an example. You know, it's not very personable whenever you're not able to see my eyes looking at y'all, and unfortunately my eyes are very sensitive to the sun, so a lot of times I won't be wearing sunglasses, but hopefully you can see me, you know, kind of focusing on y'all, because that makes it more of a two-way conversation. One thing I learned on, I know one of the intros or outros is be cognizant of the way the bike is leaning whenever you're talking to this camera, because I had the bike on, I know 2 occasions where I had it on the side stand and I'm sitting here looking at y'all, and so I'm looking at y'all like this, but the camera's sitting here like this, and it just really didn't look good, and I couldn't really go back and redo the intro and outros because, well, I wasn't there, and you know, it just wouldn't have looked right for me to do it at a different place. And so another thing on that, at the same time, I noticed on one of them that because of the sun, it was sitting there watching y'all out, or watching me out, looking at me because of the sun. I didn't have no filters on my cameras because I really didn't know nothing about them. I heard Motobike Mike talking about it at one time, because of the sun that he deals with there in Texas. But I just recently got some of those ND filters, and I want to start playing with them. But the sun, you know, it ain't really out that much right now because it's real overcast, so I don't have my sunglasses on, and also I'm not getting washed out. So those are 3 things I learned definitely about this camera right here that I wanted to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about as far as the cameras are concerned, and that's going to be, you know, I'm going to insert like a 5-second clip that I know for a fact that I was like, what in the world did I not do this before? Alright, like I said, this was a as you can see, I needed to clean my camera lens really bad at that clip. And so my recommendation whenever you're recording is be sure to always clean your lenses, like every time you stop for gas or every time you pull over for some reason on a long trip, you know, because when you get stuff on there and you go back and review the footage and you see, man, I can't see what I was even looking at because of all the bugs that you've hit. Well, it is what it is on that. So the next thing I want to talk about is recording for 8 hours a day. I mean, you got to deal with the batteries that you're having to change out, and even having to charge the batteries. And I know me and some guys were talking about it, and they were like, yeah, we have some of those little power sticks, you know, they have them on the back of their helmets. Or I know that Shade Tree Surgeon, he has his in a vest that he puts on, but I really don't wear vests that often. So I really don't know what I'm going to do to resolve that problem. I mean, I know that as far as this camera, and if I could put the 360 on the back like I did before, I can run a USB cable up to it, you know, and it's not a problem. But when it's talking about this camera right here, well, I guess it would have to either show wear the vest or do like they talk about and put the little power jumper on the back of my helmet or somewhere on my helmet. That way it can keep this camera so I'm not having to constantly looking at battery power and stuff like that. But then again, the next thing I want to talk about is the SD card sizes that you have for your GoPro. Make sure that your SD card sizes are a pretty large size, which I did. I had 128 and a 256, but one of my SD cards messed up for some reason whenever I was trying to pull the data off of it. It corrupted one of the files, which may have been part to do with the fact that at the end of the day, when I was trying to clean it off and pull it onto my laptop, I was at the Tishomingo campground and I wasn't inside, and my computer was kind of gets hot anyway because of everything it tries to do, and it's a gaming computer, and it was, you know, in the upper 80s, 90s, and so the actual computer locked up. And even though the file sizes said that, hey, I pulled everything off, well, when I tried to view the data the next day after I'd already deleted everything off of the SD card, it was all corrupted and I couldn't pull that part of it, which is why some of those I put on there, you know, hey, here's what the stop said. You know, it is what it is on that. You know, you can't really do nothing about it other than make sure that you have a pretty large size SD card. The next thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to pull over here in just a second to show it to you, that Motorbike Mike and Harley Davidson talked about on a Instagram post is a remote. I'm glad that I've got one now. I'm using it today because, I mean, it helps you start all your cameras at the same time, and it's pretty small. You know, you can put it on your wrist if you want to, but I keep mine in my pocket. But I mean, that's all it is, and it's controlling this camera here on my helmet, the camera there on the handlebars, and I even have it where it can control the 360 camera if I wanted to have it on there. So it can control up to, I don't know how many cameras. I think Harley Davidson Nut said his is up to 5 cameras on his, and I think it goes up further than that. So I just wanted to kind of talk to y'all a little bit about some of the stuff that I've learned so far, and mainly what I learned while I was on the Natchez Trace. I hope that you enjoy this video, and if you did, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe down below and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about these videos. Let me know what you think about this video, and tell me what else you may have saw while I was on the Natchez Trace, what what recommendations you have for me as well. And another thing is, share this with some of your friends. I would much appreciate it, and I hope they would enjoy the content as well. And as always, make sure you take the scenic route, and I will see you on the next video.